Hi everyone, welcome back to Behind the Brand. Today we are speaking with Raven, who is the owner of Legendary Roots. If you haven't heard of Legendary Roots, I'd like to introduce you. It is one of my favorite fashion and accessory websites. I'd like you to unlock your phone right now and visit Raven's site. That's Legendary Roots with a Z, not an S. Go ahead and feast your eyes on Black beauty. Through clothing, accessories, and even phone wallpapers, Raven spreads positivity throughout the Black and Brown community in a way that can only be described as Black girl magic. Raven, can you tell us a little more about yourself?
Okay, awesome. So, my name is Raven Nicole. I am from Phoenix, Arizona. I was born and raised here. I went to school for biochemistry.
Wow.
Whenever I tell people my major or like what I graduated with, they're like, "What? How does that connect?" But yeah, I'm also a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
That's
Um,
amazing.
Thank you so much. I started my company when I was attending Arizona State University. I was in the honors college, and I didn't really see people who look like me, who could understand the things that I was going through. Besides a few people on that were on my floor, who we just all happened to live on the same floor. It was really crazy. And so I just started it just because I felt like I really didn't have a voice at my university, and Legendary Roots kind of gave me that platform to speak about the things that I found important.
I really love that, and I'm sure a lot of our college listeners can relate. I know I was in college, I could relate. It's like you have your dorm mates and your people you go to class with, but you really want some people that are your family, your close,
Right,
close friends.
exactly.
Um, so it really reflects in your designs that life kind of imitates art and vice versa. So how did life and college life really inspire you to start designing and start speaking out?
So freshman year of high school, it actually started. Yeah, it started freshman year of high school. I had skipped the day of school to go with my mom to the salon, and she had finished up, and her her hair beauty, whatever. What's the word? I don't know the word right now. But
Hair salon?
yeah, the person who was doing her hair came over, and she was like, "Hey, your mom was telling me that you wanted to cut your hair." And I was like, and I had been asking my mom for months to do it, just because like I knew that's what I wanted to do. And so I got in her chair, she chopped it off, and I literally felt like a new person. I felt like that was the first time I had really like woken up, because I always really like knew myself, and knew myself not only as Raven, but also as a Black woman. But that was just like a whole different like sphere of a person, you know? And
Absolutely.
so I didn't tell anyone. I went to school, and everyone freaked out, like literally
Oh,
everyone. And they're like, "Oh my god, like, oh my god," blah blah blah. And I think at that point, that was when I stopped caring about other people's opinions or what other people have to say, because it was me. I was gonna make the decision for myself. Um, and so when I got to college, I was that same way. I was super pro Black, like. Arizona State is a very predominantly white institution, and just being on campus, I didn't even really, it didn't bother me, because I was so secure in my Blackness at that point, that I was like, oh, I'm gonna do what I want, when I want, and how I want. And
mm,
so yeah, that definitely really helped me. And I was also a part of a organization. It's called Zaria. And basically, like you said earlier, like how it was nice to have that family. Like at Zaria, we could talk about hair problems, class problems, anything that related to us as Black women attended Arizona State University. And I really appreciated that organization.
I absolutely love that. And your story truly resonates with me. I was the bald girl after my big chop in high school. And I know a few girls who went through the same. And I know high school and college are especially challenging for young women, especially young Black women. I have a younger sister who's 17, going into college soon. And can you please give a message to her and to all the little girls out there about just surviving in a new environment?
Okay, this is one thing that I have learned. I had to learn this early on, and it's been reiterated. I don't know if you know who Myleik Till is, but she has this. She tweeted this thing, and it was like, basically, it's like, if someone has something to say about you, and they did not say it to you, then it was not said. And nine times out
Mm,
of 10, when it comes to other people's opinions and how they feel about you or whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter because it's their own insecurities. So that my first thing would be to not care what other people think, because people are going to form opinions whether you're doing something right or whether you're doing something wrong. And also, something that I've been learning recently is to speak power over yourself, to speak power over even your insecurities. Everyone has insecurities, no matter what somebody says. Everybody has insecurities, and so whenever you want to kind of put yourself down or tear yourself down, always turn it into a positive. Like, let's say your hair is looking crazy one day. Tell yourself, like, I love the fact that I can do whatever I want with my hair. I love the fact that my hair has versatility, versus saying, oh, my hair is just so matted or it's just looking so crazy, you know? And speaking those words will encourage you to fall in love with your crazy hair. So when you see your crazy hair, you don't see it as something bad. You just see it as something that is.
I really do love that. I mean, just speaking over yourself and over your insecurities. I mean, everyone has that little evil voice inside of
Yes.
them that wants to say something horrible.
Yes, that's
So
exactly
it's good to
it.
have the nice voice.
Yes, it's crazy though, because you don't even realize it because it's in your subconscious. You don't realize the things that you're telling yourself. Even like, I feel like the 2018, it was weird. It was kind of a year of fear for me. Even though really big things were happening for me, it was a year of fear. And I realized I had to, like, pull myself to the side. I had to sit myself down and ask myself what was going on. And like during that discussion with myself, I realized that I was allowing myself to like kind of make me fearful of the future.
Wow.
And it's crazy because it's just so important to have those like internal dialogues with yourself, because when you sit down and you really talk to yourself, you understand that a lot of the things that are happening in your life, or a lot of the things that you're experiencing, are your own doing. And when you take that power back to say, you know what, yeah, it's crazy right now. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna take a step back and breathe. Everything kind of starts to come into focus.
Oh, absolutely. I completely relate. You know, Bernie Mac used to say, I said self, and self said, You have to sit down and talk to yourself.
It's so important. And it's like, I feel like it at first when I was doing it, I felt crazy because I was like, what are you doing? But then like I started to notice like changes and improvements, and it was just like things were becoming easier. And like I think it's because you start to become honest with yourself. I feel like oftentimes you kind of like try to hide, you try to shelter yourself from feelings and emotions and everything that's going around you, when if you're like more honest with yourself and you're being more real, it'll be easier to navigate through life.
Absolutely. I completely relate. And, you know, talking yourself through these large moments and these changing moments and your most fearful moments, especially you said last year in 2018, how have you done that as a business owner, not just improving yourself, but improving your business and everything around you?
So one thing that I noticed was that I was not putting in enough effort when it came to my business. I was, orders were going out. Customer service was right. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I run my business myself. I don't have really any employees. Like I run everything myself. Sometimes I do get assistance from my family and my friends, but most of it is just me.
Wow.
And one thing I had to realize is that if I want this to become a company that I am proud of, a company that not only is generating revenue, but also making a difference in this community, I have to, become serious about it. And not that I wasn't necessarily serious, but I really wasn't pushing it to its full potential. And that's something that I had to have a discussion about, because my actions were directly affecting that. Because eventually, like, I want to be able to give out scholarships. I want to be able to have like hubs in the community for people, like kind of like outreach places where people don't have anywhere to go. I want like to create hubs, in big, large cities for people to feel safe. And if I'm not doing what I need to do with my business in terms of like my finances and just my operations, then I cannot reach those goals as well.
Absolutely. I really love that. And I love seeing how you're planning for the future. And everyone says that, you know, it's just a clothing brand, it's just a clothing brand, but it's not about that.
Mm-mm.
It's about what you put into your community. And I know your designs have uplifted so many. So I know whatever you're planning for the future in terms of outreach is going to be powerful.
Yeah, I'm more excited. It's crazy because I'm more excited about that than like, because I have some pretty cool collections coming up, but I'm more excited about like being able to help the community than the collections. Like the collections are cute and they're fun, and I think they definitely start discussions, but I'm more excited about the things that I will be able to do once I reach those other goals.
Absolutely. I'm really enjoying that. And and some changes. You said you operate your brand on your own, which is honestly amazing because your social media presence, what we see outwardly, is massive. I cannot believe you do that on your
Thank
own.
you.
It's impressive. So, what are some major challenges you've overcome, especially as an entrepreneur, a Black entrepreneur? You have much more obstacles than the average brand.
Definitely. One thing would be resources.
Mm.
I didn't realize until recently the amount of resources there are for not only small businesses but just entrepreneurs as a whole. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing I took advantage of. I actually joined a group of other entrepreneurs who are located worldwide, and just joining that group has allowed me to just open my eyes to the amount of resources that are available. For example, like one of the challenges that I encountered, like you said, I have a really big presence on social media. However, when I was doing everything by myself, I would go from Instagram to Twitter to Pinterest to sending out emails, blah blah blah. And I realized that I learned through these resources that you can batch task. So you can plan your Instagram out for the week. You can plan your tweets out for the week. You can plan your newsletters out for the week. And if you take an hour or two out of your day to sit there and batch task them, and then a lot of stuff is automation now. Like even on Instagram, I post my stuff myself, but there are services where you can literally upload your pictures, upload your captions, and set a time and a date, and it will like automate the post like by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize, if I would have known that, like, when I first started my business, I would have been able to put more time aside to do other things versus trying to run and create a name for Legendary Roots.
Absolutely. And, I'm a fashion blogger, so I'm aware of some of these uh, apps where you can batch and produce more often. But for the average person, the average entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
that's not really something that they are aware of or know
Not
to
at
have
all.
access to. So, how did you connect with other entrepreneurs and how did you find this information?
So what I did was I was kind of behind the scenes for a long time. Like no
Mm-hmm.
one really knew besides my family and friends who was running Legendary Roots, like
Mm.
who like started it and everything like that. And so I just, I was like, I have always enjoyed being in the background. And I had that internal dialogue with myself, and I said, if you want what you want, you're going to have to, step a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And it's crazy because when you kind of get a little uncomfortable, that's when you start noticing some like life changing changes occur. And that's what I
Mm-hmm.
noticed. Like I decided to step outside of my comfort zone, and I was able to connect with other business owners and just create a group of people like who I can lean on if I have a question, if I'm about to drop something, I can just send it to like the group chat and they'll let me know like, yeah, this is it, or I'm not really feeling this. So I appreciate having that community of people who are able to assist in this journey as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. There is nothing more powerful than a strong, knowledgeable group chat. So, can you tell us a little bit more about when you first started the brand? What was your vision and
Okay.
how does that match up right now?
So I really didn't. The thing is, to be honest, Legendary Roots started on accident. I was so in high school. I was part of like mini clubs, but my main club was student government, and I created a lot of our shirts for like our pride days and our classes and everything like that. And so I had a
Mhm.
bit of knowledge on creating. I didn't really know, like, I knew how to design the shirt, but I didn't know how to make the shirt. So I made a few mock-ups with just like a t-shirt with some words on top of it, and I posted on Facebook, and I was like, would anybody wear this? And people were like, yeah. So I did a few like rounds of orders, and I didn't really realize it was going to turn into this. Like honestly, whenever people ask me, they're like, "What? Why did you?" And I'm like, "It just happened," you know. And I definitely owe it to God, just because I feel like He placed that drive in me to, because I often felt unheard, and Legendary Roots has allowed me to have my voice heard without having to say so much. Um, so yeah. Did that answer the question?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I mean, a lot of your shirts, I think I want to scream that from the mountaintops. I need that shirt. I need that design. I mean, you are willing to say what may be considered controversial or too woke. I think it's really important what you're speaking on.
how do you feel so comfortable going out into the world, especially the internet space, speaking these what's considered controversial phrases?
I think just because I know that other Black women and men feel the same way. I know that I can say something and hundreds of people relate to me. And because I feel like oftentimes I believe that some people do not use their platform the way that they should use it, in terms of having that. I feel like I have some visibility that if I say things, people understand and they can relate to it. And so I find it so important to use my platform. Like I said, when I started Legendary Roots, I didn't start it to get followers or to make money. I just started it just because I wanted to say something. And now that the fact that I have this platform, I think it's so important to say the things that are important, even like I said, when it's uncomfortable.
Absolutely. I mean, some people just aren't willing to speak up, so maybe their t-shirt can speak for them.
Right.
You know, it's one step closer to a lot of powerful things that we do need in the Black community. I have probably told every friend and family member about your brand,
I
and
appreciate it.
you're welcome, absolutely. And I've shown support in every way that I can. How did you connect with family and friends to show you that support? I know a lot of entrepreneurs complain about the fact that some of their best supporters are their online best friends, but their next door neighbor would never buy from them.
See, that's the thing. I feel like I didn't experience that. That's why I relate a lot of my success to God, because I see, like, I see those posts on Twitter, on Instagram, about, like, oh, my family doesn't support me, my friends don't support me, but my friends and family have been down since the beginning of Legendary Roots. Like, all of my models are some of my best friends, or like my cousins or my sisters. Like, anyone who helps me with my business, it's friends and family. So I never really had that issue. But one thing that I have learned is that people will see what you're doing and it'll touch something in them that makes them insecure about the way that they're handling their business, whatever they're doing. And then that, I think, sometimes makes them not want to help or support. But then you have to remember that you don't want those kind of people in your space anyways. Because their intention may be just to tear you down because they're insecure about the power that you have.
Absolutely. And that's sometimes just not the type of energy you want around. I
Exactly.
mean, I've come to the conclusion that that's just not my market. That's just not my
Right.
target, my customer.
And it's crazy because even with me, like, this year I realized that my target market is huge. Like, and for those people, because like you said earlier, like, some people will see brands like myself and they're like, oh, that's just a t-shirt line, they're just putting anything and everything on a t-shirt line. But for me, it's like I remind myself of my purpose and my passion behind this, and that's what pushes me versus somebody or whoever not supporting me. I don't find that important. I find the things important, being able to be an encouraging force. Like you said, I've had people who have purchased from me before, and they'll like DM me and say, oh my God, like, my little sister saw your shirt or your notebook or your backpack, and she just feels so heard and so seen. And that, more than anything, makes me feel like I'm on the right track. And that
Absolutely.
is what reminds me of my passions and what really pushes me to keep going.
That power really is important because you're not only speaking to young adults like myself in college, but you're speaking to all age groups, younger girls and men who don't know how to start a business or want to know more about graphic design or even, social media management. You're leading in not only being a designer and a clothing brand, but in entrepreneurship all around. You're really speaking out.
Oh, definitely. And I'm working on right now. Like I said, I had been in the background a lot, but I'm working on creating a YouTube right now because I want to give everybody the information that I learned. I feel like a lot of people right now, I don't have a problem with people like selling courses and teaching others how to, do the game, but I don't like how the hustle is being sold right now. And so I'm working on starting a YouTube to give all that information out for free. Just because I had to struggle to find the information. And I know that there are people, especially Black people in this community, who want to, do great things, but they can't because they don't have that knowledge and that information. So
Absolutely.
I want to be able to be that voice, like, just because I feel like sometimes it's kind of unfair, the knowledge that is being held from us. There are so many things that I had to learn myself, or, like, go out of my way to figure out, because people were not really as open with the information as they could have been.
Absolutely. And I think people are understandably protective of their business, but it doesn't hurt to share information and knowledge with another entrepreneur. There are so many people out here looking for information,
Right.
and something that you think comes easy to you needs to be taught to someone else.
Right.
Something as simple as promoting on Instagram or sending out an email blast comes simple to me and you, people who have been in the industry, but
Right.
to others,
It's like, how do you
foreign
do it?
territory.
Right. It is crazy because so I was selected as 5 businesses to actually go and meet Jackie, Ina, and Dennis to
Wow.
pitch my business. And when I was talking to some of the entrepreneurs there, I was talking about my newsletters, and that's something I struggled with for a while, just because I'm very I'm low key a perfectionist, and if it doesn't look the way I envisioned, then I have to scrap it and start all over. And I actually recently found a program where basically I can do what I want, how I want, export it, and enter it into my newsletters within like 10 minutes. And
Wow.
yeah, I was able to just to the fact that I was able to give that is like, I feel like other people should, offer that same information as well. If you know that something that you're doing is going to help speed up your business and to help prioritize your time somewhere else, why not do it?
Absolutely. And I think it's important that you're sharing that knowledge, because a lot of the courses out here are get rich quick schemes.
Yes.
Do this, do that, you'll make $1 million.
Right. It's
But
so
it's just
annoying.
not that easy.
Honestly, it's frustrating just because I feel like so many people talk about. That's why I appreciate people who are transparent in their journey as an entrepreneur. There are so many Black women I follow on social media that show the ins and outs of being a business, not only the highlights. And I appreciate women like that, because those people who are saying, "Oh, 7 steps to a 7-figure income," they're not telling you that they had a $1 million investment into their business, And so it's just frustrating because it's just creating a false reality of how owning a business is.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think entrepreneurs who take this seriously, they don't want 7 steps. They want all 128
right.
steps.
Right. A phase 1. Like, I want a breakdown of everything you did. And if I can't have that, then don't tell it to me.
Absolutely. And, not everyone's path is going to be the exact same.
Correct.
But we are so aware of the fact that knowledge is power.
Knowledge
it doesn't hurt to share.
Gosh. Right. It's so powerful, just being able to exchange information too. Like I said, like my group chat, I'll text them something, and then they'll text me something, and I'll have it and they have it. And it's so nice to be able to lean on others who understand your journey as a business owner.
Absolutely. I completely relate to that. And I wanted you to really tell us how, going forward, you plan to expand your brand and really branch out.
Okay. So one collection I'm working on is the HBCU collection.
Oh, wow.
I have to get the legalities together, because I created a few designs. However, I want to do business right, especially because I see myself doing really well in the future, and I want to make sure everything is in line, so that I'm protected and Legendary Roots is protected. So that's something I'm working on now. I'm really passionate about that, because not only does my little sister, she goes to North Carolina A&T, and I just loved, that was my first time. Arizona is not diverse in color. We're kind of sprinkled all over. And when I visited North Carolina, I just felt so much love, so much I was like, am I at home? I just felt so much love. So I just want to be able to take my designs and spread that love throughout the nation. And I want to bring more, because I don't think a lot of people know about historically Black colleges and universities. I think that they are becoming more talked about, but they're not always the first option. And I want to be able to show the goodness of these HBCUs that are worldwide.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I really think putting the brand out there and sharing information is such a big part. My younger sister is headed to FAMU next fall. So
I already have some designs for FAMU.
Oh, perfect.
I am ready. I have a list of, so I posted a mock-up of some design that I wanted to do. I asked them, because it was just in CAT, and they were like, what about the other HBCUs? What about NCCU? What about Morehouse? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I need y'all to come with y'all schools. Just because then I was able to kind of like do market research. I was able to see what kind of college students followed me. So I was able to like narrow
Absolutely.
down that list. I have like maybe 30 or so schools just ready to like chalk it up. Even there are even some schools that are not necessarily HBCUs, but they have a large Black population. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to create some stuff for them because I want everyone to feel that pride of not only being in college, but being at a historically Black university.
I really do love that. I mean, there's power in numbers, and we know HBCU students, they stand for their university.
Right. They do. It's like, it is. I didn't realize that because going to ASU, there is pride there. There's school pride, but it's different when you're repping like your school to the death. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to like see that when I visited NCAT with my little sister.
That's amazing. How do you think growing up in a predominantly white community influenced you?
Um, it actually, I really wasn't affected because one, I kind of traveled to a lot of schools, so I was kind of in the melting pot. So I was able to kind of experience a lot of different cultures, and also I attended a church that was mostly African Americans. So I didn't really I always got that like little that I needed as a Black child growing up. However, when I went out into the world, like I said, when I started attending the ASU, it was kind of like a reverse culture shock, if that makes
Wow.
sense. Where I was used to being around a lot of color, and especially being a biochemistry major, every Black person, most of the Black people, or even the minorities that were in my classes, we were all friends. Because you walk into the class and you see a sea of people who don't look like you, and you're like, all right, where are my people at? And you kind of just like migrate together. So it was definitely like a reverse culture shock. But I literally I had the same friends from freshman year to senior year, just because they were all, we all like kind of leaned on each other. We had study groups, so it was nice to have those people when it kind of felt like I was like not welcomed almost.
Absolutely. I mean, I completely relate. I went to a college where sometimes I did not see a single face that looked like me, myself, and I.
Right.
So I really do relate, and I'm sure so many. Um, you said you did your big chop in high school. How was it going through that natural hair journey and also going through adolescence and the transition to college?
I think at that point I had stopped. Literally, when I say I did not care what anybody thought. And so I think that was the reason why I did the big chop, because me and my hair, I didn't really feel an attachment to my hair. I didn't feel like my hair made me more beautiful. I didn't feel like it, cutting it off took away my beauty. It was just like, I just felt like that power inside of me when I did it because I was secure in my decision. So after that, I started acting up more. Because I knew nobody could tell me nothing. Like, I was good. And I think I just really appreciated I'm so happy that in high school was when like the natural hair movement started, just because I feel like it helped to ease me into that decision.
Absolutely. I mean, it was just blossoming as I was exiting high school and
Yes.
entering college, and all my friends were giving me twist out tips and
Yes.
product recommendations, and it was just like, this is my community.
And that's why I like loved my black friends in college, because like they could all relate. I think everyone was natural, and so everybody like had that struggle of trying to figure out what we were doing with our hair. Like, what's the next style, And I also love that even though we had diversity. So some of my friends were mixed, some of my friends were like from the African diaspora. Especially because ASU has a lot of international students. So I appreciated the fact that and that's a thing I noticed is like, I think that when people think of African Americans and just the black culture as a whole, they kind of have this like kind of narrow boxed in image of what a black woman looks like and a black man looks like.
Absolutely.
And being in college, I was grateful to be able to see, like I said, girls who were mixed, those who are from different countries that are not the United States. I appreciated having that, being able to have those dialogues and just hearing what other people thought, and kind of learning from everyone. And that's where I kind of learned that just because you think something is right, or just because you have a strong opinion, does not mean that your opinion is the right opinion. I was able to
Absolutely.
have just different discussions, just because, not that my parents raised me super pro Black, but they always made sure that I loved my Black and that I was proud of being Black. And after attending Arizona State University, I met Black women and men who didn't feel that way. But instead of taking a judgmental stance, I was able to understand why their mentality was that way and have those important discussions with them.
And a lot of people in that situation, they just need to be loved on. So
Right,
it's
exactly.
good that you were there.
It's crazy because you could get all hard with them and get angry, but if you just take a step back outside of yourself, because you already know how you feel about being Black, you are good. But if you sit there and you realize what they're saying in the words of sin, you're like, oh, they just don't realize, blah blah blah. So yeah,
You can definitely see where their thought process is stemming from.
exactly.
And just being in a diverse community like that can be so powerful, and you learn so many lessons just by who you're around.
Right.
So, of course, the name Legendary Roots to me screams so many things. It has so many different meanings. Where did you come up with the name, and what does it mean?
To be honest, like, I just came up with the name randomly. So when I first started, I don't even remember the name. I'd have to look for a screenshot, but the name had nothing to do with Black culture. Like, I think so. Growing up, I watched YouTube and I read blogs, but I didn't realize that there were a lot of Black girls doing blogs and doing YouTube and in that spirit, just because of my, like, the availability of what was there for me. And so I think my first name, it was very trendy. Like, it was super, like, cute and, like, pink and, like, that time frame. But I think I did Legendary Roots because I was talking to my older sister Jazz, and I was like, I need something that stands for me, stands for what I want, what I see for my future. And I always knew since I was, like, a kid that I was going to be legendary. And in high school, we always, like, whenever it came time to talk about civil rights and slavery, it was kind of just, like, hazed over. And I wanted to, like, kind of pay homage to our ancestors who helped to root us into the place that we are now. And so I was just able to come up with that phrase with my sister, Legendary Roots. And I'm a little different. And I was like, I don't want to use an S. I'm going to use a Z. And that's how Legendary Roots was born.
I really love that. And I think that little twist with the Z, that gives what most call the urban aspect. Okay. As soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, this is owned by a Black woman.
Right.
So you really seem to have a lot of family support and background support. How did in entrepreneurship really enter your life, and how did your family influence that?
I feel like my family as a whole has been really blessed and favored. And growing up, I've always been, I don't know the word, like, I've always been encouraged to do my best. I can't really say that there's ever been anyone. That's why it's kind of hard sometimes, and it hurts my heart when I hear people say, like, oh, so-and-so told me that I wouldn't make it. So-and-so told me that this wasn't for me. I've always had a really strong support system, and I thank God every day for that. Even, like, I kind of have, like, a photographic memory, if that makes sense. So, like, since I was younger, I always kind of caught on to concepts and subjects very easily. So I think that with that, people kind of saw that greatness in me. And so growing up, I really didn't realize, like, my greatness until I got to, like, the higher grades, where I had to really kind of put in effort to understand that, like, the concepts that were being taught in school. And I think that's when I realized that, like, anything I want is mine. And so that support system, I literally thank God every day, because without them, I don't know where I would be, or, like, what my mentality would be about myself and my knowledge and everything like that.
Absolutely. And I really think in the Black community, parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles, they drive the fact that knowledge is power, not just knowledge through school, but knowledge through listening to your elders and listening to stories passed down from family. You learn so much from others' experiences and, of course, your own.
Oh, yeah, that's one thing that I always remember is my dad would always tell us that there are consequences to every action. And that lesson being instilled into me so young is, I think, what really helped me to make the right decisions. Like, even when in college, like, I wouldn't say my high school, it was a safe high school, but there were definitely opportunities for temptation, going down the wrong path. And I always remembered like consequence line and knew that if I made the wrong decision, then I would have to take accountability for the position I put myself in. So that's something that I always remember whenever I would, be tempted to be a little bad.
I think they really prepared you to be so successful and responsible and aware of yourself in adult life. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you have to be aware of your actions and the
Yes.
consequences. I mean, you've seen people on social media kind of dig their brand into a hole.
Yes, and it's crazy to me, and it's like the thing is I understand how you got there, but it was like if you took a step back or paused or took a break and figured out really what you wanted, it would have helped you versus just going. I feel like people sometimes when they like encounter danger or when they encounter mess, instead of taking a break, they go head in. And I'm like, no, you got to sit back. You got to think about your actions and how it's going to affect you.
Absolutely. When it comes to being an entrepreneur, you have to put your brand first so many
Yes,
times. Of course, you
definitely.
put yourself and your self-care first, but your
Right.
brand always comes number one. I know this is a personal question, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people put money and profits ahead of the goal and the future of their brand. How do you keep 2 feet ahead of that?
For me, I like I said, 2018 was a tough year for me just because there were a lot of changes happening, like with Instagram and Twitter, and a lot of the social media is a big director to my site. And so with
Mm-hmm.
those changes, I kind of got discouraged because my money was acting funny. But then I actually like wanted to just stop Legendary Roots altogether, just because I was like,
Wow.
this is not what I want. But then I had to, like I said, sit myself down, have an internal dialogue with myself, and I wrote down the word passion. And
Mm.
have you ever like did a mind map before?
I have, yes.
And I just did a mind map of everything that I wanted for Legendary Roots in relation to my passion. And
Mm.
all of those things had nothing to do with money. And one thing I realized is that if I continue to follow my passion and like try to fulfill that passion, the money aspect will come with it. But that's not really what I want. And that's something that I had to have that discussion with myself about.
Mm. I think that's very important. Of course, we know money is important to have a business
Right.
going and keep going, but
Uh-huh.
you have to know what the priorities are, and you have a major future plan for your business. So, I'm glad you seem to have a great head on your
Thank
shoulders.
you.
You're welcome. So we're on the topic of money. It's taboo, but we have to talk about it to move forward and to help
Okay.
others. Um, how how do you find funding, or how would you suggest Black entrepreneurs find funding, and where do you think their starting point should be? I know some people say a certain number.
Uh-huh. For me, and that's the crazy thing. Legendary Roots, I started it without a loan. I got a scholarship from ASU, and I also got a scholarship from my church. And
Mm.
so once everything was paid, I had about $20 left. So I ordered like 2 samples, and then I was able to like I just made money from there.
Mm.
Um, so I never really had any experience with loans or investing. However, the Nortank opportunity was my first exposure to like pitching my business and
Mm-hmm.
investing my business. And one of the businesses actually, their business is called No Cap. It's spelled like no, like knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
CAPP. And the founder, his name is Gary, and he's all about giving resources to the Black community and entrepreneurs who are trying to find investments, who are trying to take their business to higher aspects. And so if you're looking to expand your business in terms of investments, definitely look into his company. I have no knowledge about that. Just because honestly, like I said, like I did not even like truly know that there were people out here giving people money for their businesses, like investing in businesses. Like I did not know that, to be honest. And however, now that I know that, I've been just doing my research. There are definitely there are a lot of investment firms out here who are specifically looking at people of color owned operations. One fund that I've been looking at is the New Voices Fund. I think that is I think that's operated by the owner of Shea Moistures, if I'm
Oh.
not mistaken. But they just recently, South by Southwest, the convention,
Yeah.
they recently gave out a few lump sums of money to Black owned women operated businesses. So
Mm.
there are resources out there. Just get on Google. Google is my best friend. If I don't know something, if I'm struggling with something, if I'm trying to figure something out, I'll Google the phrase and then retype it and refigure out what exactly I'm trying to find. So
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much for being so willing and open to share that information. I know money is such a taboo topic, but it makes the world go round.
right,
If you want to start a business,
it
that's what it
really
takes.
is. But I just feel like it's important to have those discussions because even for me, like I had to sit down with myself and look at my finances, and kind of I didn't really understand dictating where like a budget, and that's something
Hmm.
that I've been doing, and it's just helped me so much to run and operate my business in a smooth and more efficient way.
Absolutely. And I really think it takes a lot of bravery to jump into a business, navigating not only your journey into early adult life, but also into adult life as a business owner. And
Right.
it's there's so many people who are looking to do the same exact thing you're doing, or who are struggling to do what you're doing. And by sharing this information and by sharing the resources, we are taking 10 steps forward for our entire community.
Amen.
Um, I really have been going over your site, and the aesthetic quality, the colors, and the prints that you use obviously are meant to highlight and promote melanin skin. I see some
Mhm.
African tribal prints on here. Of course, my favorites, yellow and orange. How do you go about choosing what designs make it to the website and what really get out to the public?
So I kind of have like a board, which is like my sisters, some of my best friends, and I basically will formulate a collection in my head. I had like wrote down, like I said, I've been trying to get my operations in order. So whenever
Mm,
I design a collection, the first thing I do is I get inspiration. What inspires me? Like let's say I'm on Instagram, I see a picture of a beautiful woman with an afro, and she has like some African attire on. I'll take a screenshot of that and put that on my mood board just to
mhm.
because that inspired me. That made me stop and say, "Wow, I love this." And then from there, I do some drafts of the designs. I'll choose a color palette based on what kind of feel I want because I don't think a lot of people know this, but different colors have different emotions attached to them.
Mm,
And
absolutely.
so I'll what kind of vibe? The vibe is the word that I always look at when I'm making a collection. What kind of vibe
Mhm.
am I trying to give from this collection? And so from then I will, do some mock-ups with my design, send them to my board, and they'll be like yes or no. And I appreciate them because they're honest. Like if it's something that's not it, they'll be like, no, cut it out. But 9 times out of 10, they'll tell me that they like it or they'll give me suggestions, and then from there, um, I'll get samples, plan a photo shoot, and then launch it. And that's the collection process.
I love that. I mean, you keep it straightforward.
Yes, like I have to even like that's one thing I realized is like for example when I do my batch task I'll plan my layout, I'll design it, I'll send a test email to my board, and then I'll send it out. I feel like it's so
Mm,
important to list all your steps because when you do that, you're not kind of like, oh, what's next? You know what's next because you just planned it.
mm. I like that. And I really think you're really setting yourself up for larger expansion because you
Yes.
said right now it's all you and your family and your board, but you're growing and growing. I know it's gonna, it's gonna get a little bigger pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm excited. At first I was a little scared, but when that feeling of just everything is just lining up. And
Hmm.
it's crazy because, like I said, in November, I like wanted to just stop my business. I was just
Mm,
not really encouraged anymore with it. And my boyfriend was like, you know what? Take a step back. He was like, just take a break. We like went to eat. We went to go do some fun stuff and just chill. Like
hmm.
nothing legendary roots. And he was like, you need to figure out what you want to do, how you want to take this. And I just obviously I decided to continue. Um, but I had been working something was telling me to get my operations in order. They're like,
Hmm.
you need to have a flow and a process to every single thing that Legendary Roots is involved in. And
Hmm.
I just slowly started like formulating things and getting everything in order. And I truly feel like expansion and like it's going to happen soon. And I thank God that I'm ready for that. Just because I don't know
Absolutely.
what I would have done if it would have happened like right now or like before November, and I wasn't ready for it.
I watch TV shows like Shark Tank
Mm-hmm.
and investment shows like that, and they'll say our biggest problem is expansion that we weren't prepared to handle.
Right.
We don't have the factory or the scale or the production materials. So it's amazing that you're taking those steps before it becomes an issue.
Oh yeah, I'm ready.
And you obviously have a great support group, a boyfriend who's there for you, a sister, family. I mean,
Yes, I'm
that's
blessed.
amazing. Really, truly.
But I think another thing is I am very selective about the people I keep around me. And I think that some people have a heart. I'm a Capricorn, so I'm all about business. I'm very blunt, but I find it important to only keep people around me who are supporting me. And support is not always financial. It's that emotional support. Like I know that if I'm stressed, I can call my girl Grace and I can tell her and she'll sit there and let me freak out and then like talk me off the cliff. I know that I have those people who are there for me and who actually care about not only my success but my well-being.
Absolutely. And I love that because although you are a business owner, you have people who know when to say, okay, it's time to shut down all Legendary Roots for the night. You turn your phone off, you turn your laptop off, you just relax.
And I appreciate that. I mean, and I fought it. Just me being the person I am. I was like, no. But then I was like, you know what? That sounds nice. I'll do it. I'll just test it out. If it works, then I'll do it. So, yeah.
I actually work around a few entrepreneurs myself who have what they call blackout time, even if it's 15 minutes, an hour a day, or every couple of weeks, just time to step away from the business and just have your me time.
Yes, I love that. I'm about to add that to my schedule right now, blackout time.
And it's obviously important to you to be in a healthy mental health space and to just have your surroundings be healthy to you. How do you create that space and why is it so important to you?
So I feel like it's so important because if you don't have that mental peace, regardless of whatever else you're doing, you will not be able to get it done correctly, efficiently. Time is of the essence, and that's something that I'm learning. And if you're not, on top of that, in regards to your mental health, you won't really be able to get what you want done. And I just, like you said, that blackout time, I really didn't have it written down, but that's what I do. I'll take time to just in the morning is where I have that time. I have a whole morning routine. It's like 2 hours, but I have the time to do it. So I wake up, I say a prayer, I get myself together. Sometimes I'll do a mask just because I've been waking up really dry.
Oh, I know the feeling.
And so the Neutrogena mask, I'll throw one of those on before I get in the shower. I'll get dressed, even though I work from home. I'll get dressed, and that's something that I noticed. Getting dressed already just makes me feel much better, just because I feel ready for whatever comes my way. If I need to leave the house, if I need to do a Skype interview, I'm just ready,
Yes.
And before I used to not, like I would have my PJs on, my bonnet on, like, all right, let's get to work.
I've heard that's an entrepreneur pro tip because so many people work from home and they're just like, I'm not changing out of my pajamas. I don't have to.
Right.
But sometimes that part of your routine really jumpstarts you.
Yes, exactly. It really does. And then I've been listening to Sarah Jakes Roberts. She has like her sermons on YouTube. So I'll just play that and I'll do my devotion during that time as well. And just those processes, that time gives me time to just decompress, to get ready for all the tasks at hand. And after my morning routine is over, the first thing I do is my CEO time. So during that time, I list the top 3 things I need to do, the action steps that I need to do them in, and then I just get to work.
I love that. And I love that you schedule that time way in advance so nothing is going to interrupt my morning routine, even if it's an urgent email or, crazy orders piling up. You have to be able to center yourself.
Right. And one thing that I've done, so I've been doing like a block schedule. So in the AM time is where I do my hard things, the things that have to get done, the uncomfortable things, the things that will just make me want to pull my hair out. And then after my AM work, I have my lunchtime. And that's so during my AM work, unless I'm doing something like posting on social media or something like that, my phone is on screen time. So, and I get tempted, I'll open my phone, unlock it, and I try to go to my messages and it's blacked out. And I'm like, what's going on? Oh, wait. I told myself my phone is off. So during that time, I really don't like to touch my phone. It's crazy. Just try it once. Even if you're in
Mm-hmm.
school, even if you're a student, do your screen time for like an hour or 2 hours while you're studying. See how much you get done. I promise you, because you don't even realize how often you touch your phone. Like, you don't realize how often you get distracted. You can go, oh, I got a notification on Instagram. Let me go check really quick. And then
Mm-hmm.
you've been on for 45 minutes scrolling for no reason. You don't even know what you looked
Yes.
at. You don't even know you couldn't describe the last 5 posts to me.
Exactly.
So that's one thing that I've been implementing. And then I have my lunchtime, and that time I can be on my phone. I can do what I want. But as soon as 2 o'clock hits, my screen time's on again, and then I'm doing my PM work. So I'm answering emails, I'm checking to make sure that orders are going through. Just the kind of lighter tasks that don't really demand as much brain power as my AM task. And then I have like my nighttime, and then it's a cycle. It just repeats. Yes.
I love that. And I think it's really important to set that time. Even if you're not a schedule driven person, being able to just block out a certain amount of time. And, mornings are my brain time where I'm like, I have to put all my brain power into this.
Right.
And I think my boss called it eating the frog. It's eat the frog time. Do
Yes,
exactly what you
let's get
do
it
not
done.
want to do.
Exactly. Let's get it done, because the thing is, I remind myself, because sometimes, like I said, that subconscious starts to seep in, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. But then I'm like, I'll have that same talk with myself, and I'm like, sis, if you don't do this, then that doesn't get done, and if that doesn't get done, then it's all just gonna be a mess. So
Domino effect.
yes, and it's like, that's something that I find really important, and it's just like reminding myself that you got to get it done. Just like you said, eat the frog.
I really like that. And I mean, it's hard as an entrepreneur. It's hard as just a student, a working person. So you have piled even more onto your plate and still manage to get through it every day.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your marketing and your graphics, and just the way you promote is so colorful, uplifting, and definitely woke?
So, okay, so marketing, let me start there. One thing that I realized is that, even for me, I'm subscribed to like Forever 21, H&M, their newsletters. And one thing I really don't get when I get the newsletters is that connection, that feeling of like, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to stay. I like the vibe of this. And so for me, I started to do my newsletters differently. So on Mondays, I give out free playlists called Good Vibes, and
Ooh, I like
each
that.
week is a different vibe. So some, like my last playlist, I think it was like kind of like 90s, 2000s, but it was like slow jams, like Music Soul Child, Anthony Hamilton, Lauryn Hill. Like, it was just very like poetic justice kind of music. But then the week before that, it was like Rico Nasty, Megan Thee Stallion, like, because I know that a lot of people have different, like, my music is very diverse. Like, I listen to rock, I listen to hip hop, R&B.
Yes.
I'm an R&B kind of girl though. If you're an R&B kind of person, I can vibe with you, because I love me some R&B. But I also know that there's so much diversity in like in Black culture. So and then
Absolutely.
on Tuesdays, I give out tips for hair, for natural hair. And Wednesday, I give out the free wallpapers. You cannot get a wallpaper unless you're subscribed. So make sure you guys subscribe to our newsletter, because people will be like, though, because people will post on Twitter and Instagram like, oh my God, I love the new newsletter. I mean, the new wallpaper. And then somebody's like, well, how do I get this? How do I get this? And I'm like, make sure you subscribe and you'll get the one next week.
Absolutely.
I just want to create a community of people who like see themselves in all of my content. If you don't see yourself in my content, let me know so I can make you feel welcomed as well.
I really love that, and I love how you bring that diversity in there. I grew up in a predominantly white community, so not only did I have Caribbean and African and R&B music from my parents, but I also had rock
Oh
and
yes.
the emotional music from all my friends. So
Mm-hmm.
seeing you represent not only the natural Black girl, but the Black girl who wears braids or weave, or the nerdy Black girl, I
Yes.
mean, it's so, so, so important. Not only Black girls, but Black boy joy. You represent everything there is in the Black
Oh, I
community.
appreciate that. Like,
Absolutely.
I think the thing for me is like, I know what it feels like to be unheard. And so even like when I would put out my like one of my shirts, one of the recent shirts is like the Good Hair collection. And I started off just with like a natural puff. And then I posted it and somebody was like, where are the dreads at? Or where are the locks at? Where is the straight hair? And I was like, y'all right, let me get y'all too. Because I feel like there's, like I said, there's a box. People try to put Black women and Black men and Black culture as a whole in a box of, oh, this is what it looks like to be Black in 2019. But I want everyone to be like feel recognized, to feel loved, and to see themselves in all of my collections.
Absolutely. I really love that mission, and that vision is going to make every single person feel included. And everyone wants a t-shirt or a backpack or a phone case that they can relate to. I mean, all the quirky phone cases you see out there, it's not going to hurt to put a little bit of Black promotion out in the world.
Oh, definitely. And it's crazy because even like one of my most popular designs is the Black girls are the purest form of art. And it's crazy though, because I get a lot of backlash for that design as
well.
I've
seen.
And it's just like, it's crazy. I'm so unbothered by it because it's just making you uncomfortable. It makes people uncomfortable to see Black girls loving themselves so hard. Absolutely. And that's not my problem. That's something I remind myself. Like, I got this email recently from this high schooler, and she's like, you're creating racism and you're driving the mission forward by, and I'm like, I'm just like reminding Black girls how beautiful they are, how great they are, regardless of what they look like or their intelligence. You are just great. Your Blackness is great. And so whenever I get those kind of comments, I just ignore them, because normally 9 times out of 10, when you ignore people like that, they're not going to keep coming back. Because people want that attention. People want you to get upset. And I don't even know you enough.
Internet trolls.
Exactly. I don't even know you enough to give you that energy. I actually have a shirt coming out. It's like, the saying is, my energy is too precious to entertain your mess. Like, when you start to value your energy, and when you start to value the amount of time and mentality that you give things, that's when you really notice what kind of things you should hold on to and what kind of things you should let go.
Absolutely. And, I have seen the backlash you received, and as much as you want to argue back and forth with these people and you want to say, I don't have time for the trolls, the simplest way to put it is Black pride is not white hate. It's not hate at all. It's not hate towards anyone. I'm
not thinking about nobody else but my Blackness when I make my designs. And I think that's what people don't realize. They think that, because I definitely think that it's a very tense time right now. Anything that everybody says, it just can be taken the wrong way, can just be attacked. And you know how social media works. As soon as one person sees it, it just goes off from there. However, I just, like I said, remind myself of my passion, why I'm doing this. Am I doing this to argue with people who this isn't for? Or am I doing it to let people know that the people who it is for, that I hear them and that they have a space to talk about the things that they experience?
Exactly. And arguing with trolls isn't going to further your brand, but that idea you got from that one horrible email interaction, that is going to further your brand and further the movement. It's hard to see people say that we're pushing a movement when we're really pushing self-love that these Black girls haven't seen in magazines or in clothing brands prior to 10, 15 years ago.
And it's crazy because that's something that I always talked about when I started Legendary Roots, is like, I was the girl, like, I remember in 3rd grade, we had a substitute teacher, and that's like one thing I can say about the support. We had a substitute teacher, and he wanted us to write an essay about what we wanted to be when we grew up. I knew I was smart, so I knew that math and science, it always came easy to me. But for some reason, I was like, I want to be a fashion designer. And the substitute came over to me. We wrote our papers. He came over to me. He's like, you need to rewrite this. And I was like, and I was a kid. I got in trouble because I had a smart mouth, in the sense that I wasn't bad. I never said any bad words, but you weren't going to tell me about myself if I didn't believe it to be true. And so he was like, it's not a good career. You're not going to make any money. And I basically told him I knew what I wanted to do. And so since then, I've always been stern in the way I move, what I want. I kind of forgot the question. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. We're here. And honestly, so many students I've heard speak about, my teacher said I couldn't do this. My teacher said I wouldn't live up to this. this is the importance of the positive words you're speaking out into the atmosphere, that you're putting out on the internet, that you're putting on shirts and mugs and phone cases. People don't realize how powerful it is. You're combating years of ignorance and negativity.
Yes, and it's sad.
So to wrap up, I really wanted you to tell us a little bit more about your mental health space. You said the Brave Space Project.
Yes. So I started the Brave Space Project with my older sister Jazz. That's my homie. We do a lot of business together. Just because we're close in age, she like I can tell her something and she'll take it and like transform it into like a kind of like a big huge thing. Like I can tell her, oh yeah, I wanted to do so and so. Well, you know what you should do? Take it, flip it, and turn it around and build it. And so I like maybe 2017 I came out with a self-care collection with things that said like self-love is the best kind of love, and it gave the definition of what it meant to like, you know, love yourself. And I realized that self-care is just so important, and not even in the sense of like bubble baths and like masks, but like in the sense of having those discussions with yourself, having that mentality check. How am I feeling? Like, am I depressed? How are the people that that I'm keeping around me making me feel? And so what my goal is to eventually do like monthly meetups with Black girls in Phoenix, and just talk about the things that we're dealing with right now. Talk about a specific topic, talk about relationships, talk about work. Like even some of my friends, they are struggling because they're the minority in a corporation, and they often feel alone and unheard because of the color of their skin, you know. And I want to have those important discussions to let Black women know that they're not alone in that.
You know, I really do love that, because self-care is so important, not only in the Black community, but especially for Black women, because they uplift each other, they uplift their community, they uplift their men, their children. I mean, there's a lot of burden on our shoulders. So to be able to have a space where we discuss and recognize toxic environments, people, surroundings, there's so many things. I take a step back and I think, oh my gosh, that has been so toxic. I need to erase that from my life.
It's crazy because you don't realize how toxic things are until like you get a break from it or something happens where you don't have it and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
This is how
this was bad for me? I think it's really great to create that.
Yeah, I'm excited for what the future holds. Like I want to do a podcast, but my main thing is just like creating a meetup space, just to have that discussion. Like, I just feel like it's so important just to talk and like have the ability to talk, because even like you said, like especially like older women who are like who have kids, who are dealing with a lot at once, it's like they don't have that time, that space, in that area just to like kind of decompress and to vent about all the things that they have to take care of. So I feel like it's important to have that space.
Absolutely. And listen, let me know when you come to New York, when you make your way over, because I am ready.
New York is going to be one of my next stops, like New York, LA, New Orleans, just because not only do I have a lot of support there from Legendary Roots, but like I love the community of New York just from what I've seen. And I definitely like want to experience some of that. I probably, because I work full time, so I'm thinking about like planning a month-long trip out to New York, and just visiting and just seeing everything the city has to offer. So I'm definitely will have New York in my mind.
Absolutely. We are going to welcome you with open arms because we need the Brave Space Project. So that is going to wrap us for our time. I don't want to hold you for too long. Do you have any other comments, questions, suggestions you want to give to the listeners out there?
No. Well, just keep going. Don't get discouraged. And make sure you're having those internal dialogues, because your mental health matters most. And when you're good, everything else works out for you.
I love that.
Thank you all so much for listening to my very first interview with Raven from Legendary Roots. Please go check out her website. It is simply amazing. That's legendaryroots.com. If you'd like to hear more of this podcast, please subscribe. We're available on several streaming services, including Apple Podcasts, and there will be new episodes every single Friday. Search Behind the Brand with Felicia Marie. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.